Milton Erickson was a brilliant hypnotist capable of hypnotizing almost anybody, including very resistant clients. In this video you are going to learn some of the most brilliant language patterns he was using during his interventions that were allowing him to make you change even when you thought your problem was impossible to cure. We are going to cover 4 major principles in this video about what Erickson was doing, the first of them being the pacing and leading principle. Pacing and leading means that you are following the person into his own world, into his own map of the world, map of the territory, and then you lead that person into where you want him to go, which means you lead him to believe something that he was not believing yet, or maybe not as strongly as you would like him or her to believe. The thing is, you cannot really force someone against his will. It is close to impossible. Whereas if you caress that person long enough, then maybe he will follow what you say, no matter what it is. So pacing, it might mean a lot of different things. Pacing refers to anything that cannot be refuted or that is very difficult to refute. You're watching a video right now. You are on YouTube right now. Well, those are pacing statements. Those are what we call vague statements, or sometimes in NLP we call that truisms. Something that cannot be refuted or is very difficult to refute. If I give enough pacing statements to you, then you will trust me much more. At least your unconscious will trust me much more, because technically I will be saying things that you can only say yes to subconsciously. So if I put your state of mind into a yes state of mind, then you will be much more likely to accept whatever I'm gonna say later.
While I've been talking to you, you've altered your respiration. Your heart rate is altered. I know from past experience that your blood pressure has changed. Your pulse has changed. And your eyelid reflexes change. And your brain told me to keep your eyes open, but you can close them now.
The second major principle for you is covering all the possibilities, covering all the angles. The human mind, your mind, my mind, are way too complex to work in a very simple, overly simplified cause and effect logic. It just can't. Thinking that, okay, I'm gonna recite all my hypnotic lines and the person will go into a trance and he will get better. Well, sometimes not. Everybody is different and you may encounter some resistance that you didn't anticipate, which happens like all the time when we do some therapy sessions. So we have to adapt and to cover different ways, different possibilities, and to cover different ways of helping the person. Maybe you are going to learn something by keeping your eyes closed. Maybe you are going to learn something by keeping your eyes open. Well, in any case, you are going to learn something. The idea is to cover all the different possibilities so that no matter what the subject is doing, he will still be going into the direction you are leading him. This is also a concept we call double binds. Do you prefer to go into a trance right now, or do you want me to talk more before you go into that trance? Well, in both cases, you're going to go into that fucking trance. And you can adapt this strategy in a lot of different ways. You may also say, do you want to learn something interesting now, or do you want to go on suffering for the rest of your life? Well, it doesn't really look like a choice.
Such is the time when you discovered you could stand up and the entire world looked different. The world suddenly takes on a wonderful look when you stand up and are no longer creepy. Does it in this more or less reflex-like way. And sooner or later, I don't know just when, you will be wondering about something that you would like to see. I don't know if you can open your eyes and see it. Maybe you'll see it with your eyes closed.
The third major principle is what we call embedded commands. Has it already happened to you to watch a TV commercial and then you start to mumble the song of the TV commercial, like because they play it over and over again, and they play it on the radio, they play it on any kind of advertisement you see on YouTube, they play it again and again up to the point where your brain has really registered the song or the slogan or the tagline of the corporation, whatever. Well, in Hypnosis, Milton Erickson was doing kind of the same thing in a different way, because he was repeating the same commands, the same words, the same suggestions a lot of time, but in a lot of different ways. So it would never appear as he would just say, yeah, now go into a trance, go into a trance, go into a trance, go into a trance. He would say it in a lot of different manners so that you would think it was just normal speaking, but actually he is just repeating the same commands again and again up to the point where your brain takes it and go into that fucking trance. When you know what is the state you want to produce on your subject, and going into a hypnotic trance is just one of them, you don't have to select this one, it's just an example, then you can select what are the different nouns and pronouns or verbs or adjectives that fit the most what this state looks like. So going verb into a trance, noun is one example, or you might say while you are in that trance, or when that trance hits you, or when you are starting to get deeper, to go deeper and deeper. You have a lot of different variations of how this command, how this set of commands can be said. The only thing to remember is to know what kind of state, what kind of overall emotional or physiological state you want to produce, and then keep repeating the words that lead the mind of the person to that state. But repeat the words in different ways. Maybe at some point you are going to quote someone else. Oh, this person told me that when he was going into a trance, he was blah blah blah, whatever. Now, my opinion about hypnotic trances is that when you get into that trance, once again, and you can repeat it in a lot of different ways up to the point where your brain is completely synced into that state.
I'd like to have you take your time about going into a trance. I don't want you to go into a trance too soon. And you know how easy it is for you. And while you're in the trance, I would like to have you feel the coolness. Not too cold.
And the fourth principle in this video is what we call the unconscious, the whole paradigm of the unconscious, but not exactly as it is described in sciences, because Milton Erickson had his own definition of what the unconscious is. First and foremost, there is today a lot of different ways to change. Some people believe in past life regression, some people believe in some sort of God, different kind of gods, depending on what religion you want to follow. Some people believe in other things. Well, it doesn't really matter what you believe in as long as what you believe in brings resources. You can say, oh, my guardian angel gave me this power, this strength, this confidence. Well, to me, it doesn't matter as long as what you believe in brings you something more, something you would not have if you were not believing in that person. And as far as Milton Erickson methodology is detailed, I think we can say that this unconscious he was always referring to was almost to God level, something on the God level, because he would always attribute some incredible powers to this mystical force called the unconscious, which might be close of the definition science gives to it, but after having been studying the work of Erickson for years, I really think that the way he was describing the unconscious was even more than what science gives, than the meaning science gives to it. So by constantly presupposing that your unconscious is doing this, your unconscious knows the answers, your unconscious is allowing you to get more confident, I don't know, he was always presupposing some positive effects coming from your unconscious, no matter what he was talking about. It was always filled in his own language, and he was using so many persuasive language patterns that If you were listening to him long enough, you would start to grasp all these beliefs about the unconscious and that, oh yeah, actually I have something in my head that is helping me all the time. He was installing those beliefs. And maybe it is true, maybe there is really something unconscious in your mind and that does all kinds of things. Maybe yes, but we have no proof of it. And it doesn't matter because as long as we believe in it, it will happen. So a big part of the work of Erickson was to convince you through all the Milton model language patterns that your unconscious is helping you in ways you can't even imagine.
Here, I'd like to have you watch him on his face. And your unconscious mind will learn a great deal. So turn and look so you can see her. And go deeply into trance so that your unconscious can deal with that vast store of memories that you have. And I'd like to have you feel very comfortable. I want you to go into trance just yet. But your unconscious mind is learning a great deal right now. Only you don't know just what it is learning.
Also, there is the phonetic ambiguity of your unconscious written this way and your unconscious written this way, that way. Because in the grammatical sense, what Erickson was saying was always this one, but your unconscious, or like, let's say your mind, part of your mind, is also figuring out, is also understanding the phrase that way, which in the grammatical sense, this one means you are right now into an unconscious state, or at least in a state where you don't have all your bullshit responses and you just listen to me and get my suggestions. So by constantly repeating your unconscious, it might, at least in the English language, it might mean both. So in any case, it is a positive, it is a good suggestion related to what Erickson wants to accomplish with his subjects. And unfortunately, it would be difficult to cover all the possible persuasive language patterns that Erickson was using, but you have all of them, absolutely all of them, in the Covert Hypnosis tutorial in the description. There is the complete list of all the patterns you may need and all the kinds of examples of how you can use them in your everyday life, no matter what is the subject of your conversation.